Hey everybody out there, Chris here, and welcome to the update that is going to change it all. Everything you know about my channel, everything you know from day one all the way through until the last review from last month, that's done. That's over. We are going to be doing a major overhaul on my channel starting right now, because the best time to make change is at the beginning of the month. And guess what, guys? We are only 3, 4, 5, 6 days, because today is the 6th, 6 days into the month. Perfect time to start, and big things are happening in April anyway, so now is the best time to implement these ideas. And guys, Mike is not here today. He's actually somewhere else. He's chilling with his with Kevin. They're going to be doing WrestleMania. They're going to be watching. I don't do wrestling much anymore. I don't watch it much anymore. But I'm sure that there'll be something on Comic Frontline pertaining to wrestling, whether it be with my brother or with somebody else who's watching WrestleMania. I don't want to spoil, or I don't want to say something and then it doesn't happen, so I'm not making any promises, but there might be something. Anyway, back to my channel though. Everything that I do, ever since episode 100, Mike has been my partner. Granted, this is my channel, but Mike's come on with me, so he is like my partner. Anything I do, he's right there with me. Our reviews, everything, he and me both work together on them now. Even though they are considered mine, I consider them ours now. So any idea or any change that's coming here, I've already discussed with Mike, and we are both on the same page and kind of agree with a lot of the changes that are going to be happening on this channel. So I've listened to you guys, and I've listened to other people who've done videos, and I've taken all this in, and I've noticed a lot of changes ever since we started doing the Dark Avenger reviews as one gigantic episode, which could range from about 45 minutes to an hour, depending how many books and how much we talk about the books. So the major changes are going to be to the videos, not to the channel. The channel's staying the same. It's comic books, it's a little bit of everything. So we're not changing as far as like we're going to be doing video games now, not comic books. No. Everything is staying the same. It's still comic-centric. However, we're going to be adding and we're going to be dividing a few things. Let's start with the beginning of the week, or the beginning of the uploads, the haul video. Still going to stay the same. It's going to be the same format too. Minor updates, which this is a major update, so that's why it's getting its own video. But little updates, little pieces of news, I'll be doing there. And then the haul, which will be the comics and anything extra we get. And then we go into the comments, which you guys... I appreciate all the questions, Nick, you've been sending, and everybody's been sending. I've had some from all different people, new commenters, old commenters, guys from Comic Frontline, gals from Comic Frontline, everything. So I appreciate all the comments from all of you guys, and I love answering them on the weekly comic book haul, which is another thing. Guys, if you have comments, you don't have to personal message me. You could send them in the comments, and I will answer you guys. Well, you're not your face, but I'll be verbally answering all of your comments. Doesn't matter how many, doesn't matter how few. I will be answering all of them on the haul, the comic reviews, and any other extra video we do. So that's the haul. The indie review, which we actually shot the indie review last night, and I teased this video. I actually wanted you guys to watch this video. I made sure to push it enough on the indie review. That indie review was for comics that were released on March 26th, the last week of March. So that was for last month. So starting now, actually it should have been the haul, but starting with the haul, these are all pertaining to things in April and all moving forward, so things are going to change. So after the haul is usually the indie review, and we're going to keep the indie review, and we're going to keep it the exact same way it is. However, it's going to be minus a few books. I'll explain why afterwards. So it's going to be a shorter indie review due to the fact that we're going to be putting less books in it, but it's still going to be essentially about a half-hour show. Unfortunately, there's really nothing we could do. I don't want to divide the indie review up into companies, because with one company we read one book, one company we read 3. It wouldn't make sense to divide the indie review like that. So we're going to keep the indie review at its standard one episode. This is the indie review, and that's that. Maybe later on, if we get into other things, we'll see about dividing the indie review. But for right now, some things do have to stay a little bit the same, and the indie review is the newest video on this channel, only 26 episodes in. So I'm going to leave the indie review for the most part alone right now, because it's new, it's fresh, so I'm going to let that go. Now, after the indie review usually comes the comic review. And I know you guys, and I've heard a few of you guys' comments and a few of you guys' suggestions. Somebody suggested putting a timestamp on each and every comic book. But guys, I get sometimes about 30 comics, and to sit there and go through an hour plus sometimes worth of episode to timestamp every single book and then put it in the description, it's not a possibility. It's not realistically in my capabilities, especially because I shoot the review so late at night and then I upload it even later at night. I thought that putting the best thing I did for you guys was I put the books in order of the order I reviewed them in. This way you know what book's coming first and what book is the last book. So the big changes here. We just did comic book review 230. So this is another good thing because we'll actually be going and moving forward starting with 31. The numbering is staying the same. There still will be a comic book review 231, and it will be on Tuesday this week, but we're going to try to bring it back to Monday so you guys will see it on Tuesday morning. We're going to try. I can't promise you. It depends on the books. So expect the comic review anywhere from Monday morning to Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning will be the latest. Monday morning will be the earliest. The comic review for 231, we're going to be dividing the show. Because I know you guys really aren't much of... I noticed ever since I started editing the video together as an hour-long video, a lot of you guys have been kind of a little reluctant to jump in and dedicate an hour of your time to the show. And I understand that. It's a long show, and on mobile devices it's very hard to timestamp. You literally would have to timestamp where you're at. It doesn't save where you were last left off, like on, for example, Netflix or anything. You have to literally start the video over again and then remember what part you are up to. So we're going to divide the comic review into two. We're going to take the comic review, and for example, it'll be the next episode is 231. Comic review episode 231, semicolon, DC Comics. And it's going to be all the DC comic books we've read. And then we're going to do comic book review 231 Marvel, and it'll be all the Marvel books we've read. And we're going to, and dividing it that way, it's taking a full hour show and dividing it into 20 minute to 25 minute long videos instead, so it shrinks the time. It's less overwhelming for you guys to watch. And if you're a fan of only DC, you can watch just the DC. If you're a fan of only Marvel, you can watch Marvel. But most of the people that I've talked to on here, I know you guys like DC and Marvel. So this will give you guys a little bit more of a divide. We're going to be recording both on the same night, but I'm going to divide the video as far as uploading, so this way it gives you guys a little bit of time to pick and choose which one you want and dedicate less of your time and enjoy the videos more. And if, let's say, one week I read all my DC books fast, maybe I'll do a DC one, and then the Marvel one I'll shoot the next day. Who knows? It'll allow you guys, like I said, more time, and it's better for you guys viewing time-wise. Now, the extra videos, which are going to be... also, I am working on a podcast, but I want to leave that separate. Let's finish with the videos first. Next is the monthly series. I am going to be taking several series that Mike and I read that are indie, and we're going to be making them full-on show recaps. At the end of the month, we're going to take all the books from these series and we're going to do a recap or a review video of them. We're going to do a Zenescope recap, which will take all the books, for example, from April, and we're going to review all the books that came out in April from Zenescope in one show. So for those of you that really love Zenescope, this show is dedicated just to Zenescope. Only to Zenescope. All the Zenescope books will be in that video. Then, you guys know how much of a Transformers fan I am. There are 2 series ongoing right now, plus a mini-series coming up. I'm going to take those 3 books, and I'm going to stick them into their own video series. And Mike's going to actually look into a couple of these books. He's going to try, and that'll give you guys another maybe 10 or 15 minute video, because there's only 2 or 3 books, and they're going to be going on their own separate paths. So, that's another video that's going to be once a month, and it's going to cover everything Transformers. I would do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle solo. However, they're only releasing 1 book, and then there's going to be 1 mini-series. And I don't want to overwhelm myself with separate projects at this time, so we're working on it. We're also working on a G.I. Joe one, because there's G.I. Joe, the G.I. Joe Special Missions, and then there's the Cobra Files. We're working on G.I. Joe. That's not a promise for the near future. That's a possibility for the future, period. Not distant, not close, the future. I don't want to give any timestamp on that. But the third and final one is going to be, so we got Zenescope, we got Transformers, and then the third one is going to be, Star Wars. And Mike's actually going to look into a couple of Star Wars books. So at the end of the month, you're guaranteed 3 special videos: Zenescope, Transformers, Star Wars, with the tentativeness of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe going first because G.I. Joe has more books. So that's a possibility of 5 specials at the end of the month. Now that's all the videos. As far as the podcast, I am working tirelessly on building up a podcast. I told you guys I ended Comics Point 3 and I ended Outside the Pages. And those are going to be put into the podcast. But I'm also looking to add other things to the podcast. There is something special connected to the podcast, which I don't want to say at this time because I want it to be a surprise for the first episode of the podcast. But I'm looking to make the podcast really special. I'm aiming for the podcast to be no more than 2 hours, no less than an hour and a half. It'll be all comic discussion. There will be guests on it. There will be people on the show, regular people on the show, regular cast members for a certain segment. It's going to be a segmented show. And what I'm going to try to do there is I'll try to list the segments and I'll try to work with it. It's going to be a podcast in the making. The first 5-ish episodes, I would say, are going to be testing the waters for several different segments, and then the segments that I enjoy doing, that I see you guys like the most, are going to be the segments that stay and essentially will help build up into the podcast, which I have no title for it this time. I have no intro music for it this time, but I'm going to be doing all of that over the course of this month. Can I promise you the podcast this week? Obviously not, because the weekend's already over. Can I promise it to you next week? I don't know. It all depends on me work. First, I want to work on the video scheduling, which basically it's done. This is how it's going to be starting 231 on. And but I want to make sure I have the scheduling down. I want to make sure I have good segments for you guys. I want you guys to enjoy the podcast as much as I enjoy doing the podcast. So I'm really working on it. I have a couple of segments in mind already, which I know a lot of you guys will enjoy. And guys, you also have to remember that Mike and I are also working on Comic Frontline, and we are really trying to build that channel up. So I'm going to try as my hardest, because you guys mean the world to me as much as everybody. I know most of you, if not all of you, have gone over to Comic Frontline and subscribed there as well already. But I want to give you guys your viewership worth on my channel as well. So I want to give back to you guys on here that are dedicated to my channel. So I'm going to work my butt off on this channel to try to give you guys the best product, the best videos that I can. At the same time, though, remember, it's going to be a work in motion for the next month, video-wise, month or two. And as far as the podcast, it's going to be a work in motion for a couple of episodes, maybe about 5 or 6, 4 or 5, depending, because I do have other stuff that I'm going to be doing on Comic Frontline. Now, because of the series being monthly, you don't have to worry. On Comic Frontline, all videos, all comic books that come out on certain weeks will still be reviewed on the weeks they come out on Comic Frontline. So if you want to see a specific review of a certain book that we review on Comic Frontline, they will be there on time. We won't wait until we do the special. But I encourage you guys to check out the special too, because we're going to be doing special things in the special. And you guys know how much we love the specials we're doing right now, which are Transformers, Star Wars, and Zenescope especially. So hopefully, with the baby. Hi, Tommy. And hopefully, with all this, it'll build into something really, really special, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give you guys the best from this channel. I don't even consider this channel Dark Avenger C86, as you guys can see. Whenever I comment, whenever you come on my channel, it says Chris Ventura. I've acclimated my name as this channel. Of course, if you want to find this channel, you have to type in youtube.com/Dark Avenger C86. But I'm trying to stay as a comic-centric channel because we read everything. Let's be honest, we read everything from indies to big companies to self-published work, and we love every single moment of it. And the indie review, the only reason why I can't divide the indie review is because some weeks we read one book from one comic company, and some weeks we read 10 books from a certain comic company. It's very hard, and I don't want to separate because there's Image, IDW, Dark Horse, and already I'm taking some of the comics away from Dark Horse and giving them their own show, so that's even going to lessen like a Dark Horse review. So I'm going to keep the indie review the way it is, but the comics that have actual series, I'm going to try to give them their own special monthly series, or whenever the last book comes out. It doesn't even have to be at the end of the month. If, for example, all the Star Wars books are done and we're in the 3rd week of the month, we'll give you guys the Star Wars special the 3rd week of the month, because why wait? Because there's nothing coming out the following week. It all depends on, once again, release dates. And when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gets their next miniseries, by then I believe it's going to be July, so it'll be further along, and we can, and maybe we'll work our way into doing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles special. You guys know how I love the Turtles. I would not mind doing a special. I just don't want to do a special on one book, because then it's more of a spotlight, and yeah. Other series, speaking of spotlight, that we are working on are actual spotlight videos, like a top 5 or a top 3 spotlight of the week, which will spotlight 3 books that Mike and I both believe deserve the top 3. Of course, it'll be divided, Mike's top 3, my top 3, because Mike doesn't read my books that often and I don't read Mike's books. So it'll be a top 3 for the week of whatever. This is, again, a future tentative video, not now. Also, you guys want to see a top series on here, and we're going to work on that. That would be a here, there, and everywhere series, not something that we would do weekly, but if we came up with a top 5 whatever, we would do it. Also, I just remembered something, and it just slipped my mind completely. Here, there, and everywhere. That's what brought it up. Oh, Comic Book Corner. I said I was going to cancel it. I might not, because a lot of the books that I would like to review, other people want to review on Comic Frontline. So I'm going to keep, I'm not going to say it's gone forever, but Comic Book Corner will be like the top 5, a here, there, and everywhere series where I'll continue to review trade paperbacks that other people have already reviewed on Comic Frontline. So I'm going to keep that series. I'm not going to cancel it, but it's going to be a series you see less often on this channel. As far as, what else did I want to mention? As far as, comic reviews, everything, those will be on time. Top 5s will be sporadic. The Spotlight series will be once a month. The podcast will be weekly. If I can do it, I will do it weekly. So there will be a weekly podcast. Also, don't forget, I'm working on BBZcast on Brooklyn Boys 13. You guys can check that out also. It's on youtube.com/BrooklynBoys13. We do our game walkthroughs on there as well. So I'm all over the place right now, but I'm going to try to get a good schedule down and try to get you guys some good videos on this channel too. I am working on a few other ideas. Right now, toys and everything I'm keeping on Comic Frontline, which I would like to tease right here. There are going to be a lot of non-comic related videos during the spring break that I will be uploading from myself on Comic Frontline. Maybe not a lot, because I want to save some for the weeks further along, but there's going to be some nice reviews coming really soon from me outside of comic book wise, so you definitely will want to check those out. You're going to enjoy them, I think, also. We've been reaching out all over the place. But for the most part, everything is, it's going to be the same. Everything is the same, but different. Can I promise this is a change forever? No, because change is constant. This is the change for the moment. Things could change again a couple of years from now. I've had this channel for about 4 years now. This is the first major change in 4 years. Who can say 4 years from now there might not be another major change, or maybe I'll divide it up even further. But remember, guys, Comic Frontline is also something I'm working on, so it's harder to balance so many different changes at once. Comic Frontline is now taken off, and it's on its own, and it's moving at a very fair pace. Thank you guys so much for that, by the way. So things are calm there now. Our launch month is over. It's been 2 months over now, so now I can focus a little bit more on this channel again, and I want to, because you guys mean the world to me just as much as everybody on Comic Frontline who watches our videos there means the world to me, just like everybody on Brooklyn Boys means the world to me. But I want to focus now with you guys, with this channel right here, right now, because I've changed Brooklyn Boys. Brooklyn Boys is going. Comic Frontline's launched, and it's going amazing. Thank you again, all of you, for both channels. Whichever channel, if not one, the other, if not one, the other, both. So now it's your guys' turn, and that's what's going to happen. This week, because of WrestleMania, the comic review will be up on Tuesday, the 2 parts, the 2 separate segments. Starting next week, like I said, it'll possibly be Monday. The haul will still be on the same day unless we get our comics earlier. And the indie review will probably be on the same day, maybe earlier, depending. But remember, there are going to be books omitted from the indie, because those are going to be ones we review monthly. So that's it, guys. hope you enjoy this update. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Any other video series suggestions you have, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm not going to segregate further into DC and Marvel. So anybody who's going to say, why don't you make a Batman segment, or why don't you make an Avengers segment, or why don't you make a Spider-Man segment? No. I've divided the big two as much as I'm going to for this time, for a very long time, if not for permanent. So please don't suggest that, because I'm going to have to say no to those. I can't segregate even further, because then my channel will be just a monthly recap, because I got to wait for everything to come out. So the big two, this is where it's going to be, and that's that. Any recommendations for books, welcome below. Feel free to recommend any books you like. Any other different segments you'd like, feel free to recommend them. Anything in general, your thoughts on these updates, what you guys think, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If I don't answer them through the comment reply, I'll be answering them probably on the weekly recap, because I'm sure I'm going to want to cover this video, especially if there are suggestions. So please feel free to leave your feedback. Your feedback means the world to me, and it'll help better this page for myself and mostly for you guys. So thank you guys so much for sitting through this long update. So until the comic review, everybody, take care, keep reading, keep collecting, and I will see you guys really soon in the next comic review. Later, everybody.